Approaching here is the former RAF Hope Cove radar station, seen here during 2020 on a fairly bright summer's day. And in this next image you'll see the same gate as it was in the 1970s, with an old radar array just on the right hand side and the former RAF Hope Cove World War II radar station directly in front of you, which masks the bunker just behind. Sadly, the old World War II radar station was demolished in the 1980s. It had formerly been dormitories for the bunker when it was converted into a regional seat of government.
And when the Cold War ended in the early 1990s, Britain's entire network of civil defence bunkers, built from the early 1950s onwards, were shut or sold off by the government as an unnecessary expense. Today, as once top-secret official documents begin to be released under the 50-year disclosure rule, the extraordinary story of how government prepared for a nuclear attack on London can at last be told. Within months of the Soviet Union's first explosion of an atom bomb in 1949, it was concluded that it was impractical and far too expensive to provide nuclear shelters for the general public. Government, on the other hand, was to be protected at all costs.
On a breezy day near Salcombe, high on a hill, we are at the former RAF Hope Cove radar station. Operational from 1954 to 1958. This two-storey, R6 semi-submerged bunker was built as an RAF control centre. Rather breezy day today, so it'll be interesting to see how the sound records. Following closure in 1958, the Home Office then acquired the site and converted it to a regional seat of government. And the old wartime Second World War radar station was just here on the right hand side where this large mound is. It will be really interesting to see how the sound goes along in this recording. Pardon me for going on about it, but I've been struggling with audio for some time. This bunker is 35,000 square feet in size, with over 60 rooms inside. On the roof there on the left hand side is the main water tank holding 1,500 gallons of water, which is supplied by the borehole just down the field. here, on the left hand side, is the main air intake. Just below is where the concrete walkway next tunnel went across. Here, the old wartime radar building, which had accommodation in dormitories of 250 personnel. Sadly now demolished. Also on the left here is a concrete covered walkway to enable the engineers to get from the bunker to the backup generator block with some form of protection. Not much, but at least it was something. And these two 12,000 gallon tanks supplied the two generators inside, and that would last for 35 days. The two generators at the time, back in the 1950s, were two 150 kVA Meadows generators.
Being investigated by English Heritage as part of an ongoing national survey to identify Cold War structures which should be preserved as monuments of national historic importance.
This very stark structure is very good at symbolising the awesome power of atomic weapons which the country might have been attacked with during the 1950s and right through to the 1990s. And now we imagine that these threats have gone away. We do feel it is important for people to be aware of these structures and actually to visit them and just consider what might have been.
But the atom bomb soon proved an outdated threat. By the mid-1950s, the Soviet Union possessed a new and vastly more powerful weapon, the hydrogen bomb. At ground zero, an average-sized bomb would have gouged a huge crater from the Earth, 100 feet deep and a mile wide. Underground bunker was secretly equipped to govern whatever remained of London. Maintained for possible use until the early 1990s, the bunker has since been sold back to the landowners and is now a museum.
The government approached my grandfather, and under the threat of compulsory purchase they took from us the 25-acre field in the middle of our farm. They bulldozed the top of the hill that was there all around the outside edge of the field. They put armed RAF guards on top of that to stop anybody looking over, and they proceeded to build the bunker. Once the first bomb had gone off, the regional commissioner here would have been the man who would have been in charge of this area. The commissioner's powers would have been absolutely total. He would have the power of life and death. He would be able to sort any marauding gang out by sending off the police or the army to ultimately kill them. His whole duty down here was to the greater population, not just to any individual or group of individuals who were trying to break in here or take over the power of government. The BBC radio studio was down here so that the Commissioner, or indeed the Prime Minister or somebody important, if they'd come down here, could have broadcast to the nation to tell us what was happening.
The government has decided that in the present state of international tension, You should be told how best to protect yourselves from the dangerous effects of nuclear attack. Using sacks or sandbags, which should be about 2/3 filled, you can block the windows from the outside. Alternatively, you can fill boxes or other containers with tightly packed. If you are at home or visiting, move instantly away from open windows or doors and take cover behind the nearest solid protection.
The United Kingdom Warning and Monitoring Organization, with all its highly trained resources, is spread like chainmail over the entire country. Break one link, break many links. The overall organization can still be kept operative.
Situation to be in, knowing that we possibly would be well protected here and our families would be outside if a bomb went off and probably killed. We did have plans to try and look after our families, and hopefully these would have come into effect. But it was a strange situation to be in, really, and people often wondered how many people would actually turn up on the day if something actually happened.
Toxic, number one!
Luckily, the system was never tested for real. With the end of the Cold War in the early 1990s, Britain's entire network of Royal Observer Corps posts was shut down without ever being called into action. Since then, the network of bunkers planned for use by regional governments during a nuclear war have also all been closed. But one secret still remains. With an H-bomb likely to destroy any central London bunker, where did the Prime Minister and Whitehall plan to try to survive a nuclear attack?